Everyone, welcome to Here for the Health of It podcast. We have a great show for you today. We have Amick, who is the owner of Vibe Nutraceuticals. She's also the founder of Baddie Academy, Aging Backwards Club, and we get into all kinds of things. We talk about her company, why she uses Pearl as a supplement, what she does in her supplement company, and then her background and how she got into that, all the way from finance and cheerleading all the way into where she is now. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks for listening. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here for the Health of It. I'm Dr. Randy here with Dr. Tom as always. Thanks for all your reviews, all your voting for Best of Columbia, hottest podcast. And we have a great show for you today. We have Amick. Did I say it right?
Yes.
So you are the CEO of Vibe Nutraceuticals. You're the founder of Baddie Academy and the Aging Backwards Club.
Baddie Academy? I didn't know that one.
And you have a background in finance.
Yeah.
Sort of.
College.
And you also sold lasers for a while. And
A
you were
little
in
bit,
and you were in the medical industry for a while.
Correct.
You have quite the resume.
Yeah, for a long time actually. It's been over 10 years. So
Really?
a decade.
Wow.
Of medical stuff.
So all right, so tell us exactly what you do. Tell the listeners.
Yeah. So let's take back to college. So I was a finance major, which people find really interesting. I was a double major in finance and management. I can't think of a more boring career track. I'm sorry if you're doing that.
Yep.
It was just you and a bunch of dudes in those classes?
A lot of meat.
All the girly pops that are saying, 6'5", finance. You don't want that guy. You don't want that guy. Because they were
That's
my
a whole meme
classmates.
now.
Yeah, they were my classmates, and they're not cool.
Right.
6'5",
They're not as
finance,
cool as you think.
trust fund,
Yeah, blue eyes.
blue eyes. That's right.
I can't remember the rest.
Long
And
pants?
Yeah. You don't want to. You don't need to. Don't go for
Not worth it.
Go for a nice man. In these times, maybe a guy that could build you a house.
Like a chiropractor.
Yeah,
And a
chiropractor.
contractor.
Somebody that knows how to use their hands.
Yes.
That's
great.
very important.
So what are your 4 attributes then? Instead of 6'5", finance, trust fund, blue eyes, what are you going with?
I think first and foremost goes to therapy. I think that's pretty important.
Nice.
If you
Mental health.
Maybe you've graduated from therapy. Maybe you went and now you've decided that you don't really need it anymore.
What
I think that's
what
a
if he
great
has no
attribute.
trauma?
No trauma?
Yeah.
Everybody does.
I think-
Randy pretends like he doesn't.
I was
but
gonna say people that say they don't have a lot of
They need
trauma
to dig.
might
They
be
have way
the
more
most
trauma.
traumatized. Yes,
Yep.
I remember dating a guy that really had quote no trauma, and he was probably the most tortured soul I think I've ever met. But just because his life had been so perfect that he had these statutes to uphold, and I was
Right.
like, my parents are probably so grateful that I never got into meth. or whatever. They're probably
Right.
so impressed with me right now that I'm just here living.
Okay, I like that.
And
Goes to therapy.
and graduated, I wouldn't say top of class, but pretty close.
Go a little higher with your microphone. For
Oh,
me.
right here.
Yeah, just pull it up a little bit. There you go.
Okay, is this good?
Better.
I'm
He'll
sorry, I'm a
do
short
it 2
girl.
or 3 more times.
But yeah, so I started out with that finance background.
Yeah. Wait, we didn't do your 4 attributes yet.
Graduate.
Oh yeah,
Build
oh, gosh.
something, goes to therapy.
Right.
Good with their
I was
hands.
trying to get away with those 4 attributes. Okay, so those are 2.
Height matter?
I mean, not really.
Okay.
I'm 5'1", so chances are they're gonna be taller than me.
That's good, yeah.
Like,
Okay.
9 times out of 10.
How about athletic?
I think athletic is nice, not just because of physically it makes you look better, but it's also that's a sign of longevity.
Right.
If you have good, especially if you're in your 30s and 40s, you need to have good muscle mass. You guys know this because that's going to help you later on not develop Alzheimer's as soon. And
She
and
just
stay
pointed at my
pretty
arms for
active.
anyone
I
that's
think
just
they were
listening
mine
to
too,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Both.
I don't know if you guys
Double
saw that on
guns.
camera. I was just double guns, shoot 'em a gavin at both.
You guys
of 'em.
know about muscle mass.
You guys know about muscle mass, so I think that is super important to definitely have some athletic build, or at least go to the gym.
Right.
Yep.
I don't go to the gym, but I do other things.
You stay active.
Yeah, I'm more in my soft girl era now, so I'm doing the Pilates, yoga, home workouts, walking,
Just getting loose and limber.
limber. Yeah.
You're not trying to bulk up anymore. Got
No, I'm just trying to, live that soft life down by the river, just, watercoloring, looking at the
Nice.
flowers. I used to really go hard in the gym. Fun fact, after college, I did do a stint where I taught group fitness. Yeah.
Which one? Like, what were you into?
It's called Body Pump. It's a Les
Body
Mills
Pump.
class.
Okay.
And so it's low weight, high rep. And I would laugh when men would come in and they would come in and they'd stack up the bar. Have you ever taken one of those
Randy
classes
has.
before?
Yeah, he's done a.
Oh, I got a
he
story
loves-
about this from 2
Do
weeks
you?
ago.
Oh, no.
He
Oh,
loves
it's
it.
fresh in your mind then.
I did a step class, and
Oh, a step class.
all 3 of the instructors came and told me I had to use less weight before the class. And I was like,
They were trying to help you out,
and I was
honestly.
like, I'm doing the amount of weight that I want, so just
Right.
leave me alone.
Yeah.
And I just crushed it the whole time. And
You
afterwards,
did?
they came back and they were like, all right, you were right
Yeah.
to use that much weight.
Wow, mad respect. I would do that before. I'd be like, listen, boss, you might want to
Yeah.
tone down the weights are, they're not going to be
You're
bad
not
for the
impressing
first
anybody.
2 songs. After that, you might be embarrassed and start shedding some weights mid class.
No,
Right.
they
And I
all-
don't want you to feel embarrassed then.
Good
I'd rather you
point.
go ahead and do it now.
I'd rather start real light and add weights.
I'm the opposite. I would go to it, they would convince me to lower the weight, and then I would leave feeling like I didn't get a workout and be like, I'm not coming back anymore.
Wow.
Good for you. I'm the opposite. I was like, we had to teach on stage and we had to do stage weights. So that means
Were
you
they
have
fake?
to add
Yeah.
more.
And
No,
you did-
no, like you have
Oh,
to
that'd
add
be sweet.
That would be sweet.
even for the certification, you have to have on like double the amount of weights that you'd feel comfortable with. And I just remember teaching my certification class, my legs were
Right.
I had to have been visibly shaking on camera. And that's just what they
Right.
want you to do on stage while
Okay.
teaching. So that was very difficult. That didn't last a long time for me, I'm not going to lie. But that was probably the best shape I've ever been in my life. So
Nice.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Columbia Family Chiropractic, with 3 easy-to-get-to locations, one in Forest Acres, which is by Trader Joe's, one in O'Neill Court by the DMV, and one in the Northeast by Sand Hills. You'll be sure to have somewhere near you. They offer a ton of services from corrective care, on-site digital x-rays, spinal decompression for bulging or herniated discs, dry needling for injuries, pediatric care, and a Class 4 laser. They accept all your major insurances. And if you mention this ad, you'll get a discount on your first appointment. Check out their website at cfc4health.com or Google Columbia Family Chiropractic. That's cfc4health.com.
that was such a long answer for
Well,
athletic
yeah,
build.
But what's good is we were gonna probably do like a dating show. Do you want to be on that dating show? I mean, because
That would be
it'd be
really
great.
funny.
So we need to know all the characteristics you're looking for.
One of my favorite people that I follow on Instagram has a dating show. I don't remember her actual name, but her name is Reezy with like 5 E's. You should definitely take notes
Really?
from. Yes,
Okay,
she does.
good.
I want to say her show is called Why Am I Single? You should definitely take notes from that.
Nice.
It's a good one. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Okay.
So when I did my premarital counseling, we went to the lady who's the mentor for the Millionaire Matchmaker.
No
lady.
way,
Yep.
Patty.
Patty. So Patty's mentor is Pat Allen, who she's
What?
like 92 now.
So that's like the boss. That's who you want to go to.
And she's
That's the
just,
boss
Skip
level.
Patty. You
Yeah.
go to the boss.
Yeah, Patty filters it nicely, and she's good for TV. So
Sure.
she takes the same concepts that Pat Allen would say in a really kind of crass way,
Yeah.
and makes it TV worthy.
So what does Pat say?
Pat would ask
So-
questions like, "Are you open to butt stuff?" Like right out of the gates.
No, you didn't.
No.
Yes, she would.
She wasn't in that session. Well, she would, but not right out of the gates. She
Right.
would say, "Here's the list of things that we need to negotiate and create a contract." And it
Way
was
ahead
things
of time.
like way before you get married. It was things like closet space. It was
Wow,
what's
that
okay,
is
what's not
important.
okay. How do you find cheating? What's something that triggers you? Do you want to have kids?
Yeah.
Do you want to have animals? You had to hash it all out before you got married.
That makes sense.
So then when it came
Smart.
time, it was just, oh, this is what we want.
Here's what the contract says.
Yeah, that's good. Honestly, that makes sense because I saw somebody the other day put on their Instagram story. They were like, if I don't have the password to my boyfriend's phone, blah, blah, blah. I was
Right.
like, I don't need to know that. I don't ever want to know
There you
that.
go.
We could be married for 20 years and I don't want to know the password to your phone
Keep your secrets.
because I know myself and I might ruin my own feelings
Right.
and make assumptions and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't need to.
I like my wife having all my passwords because I forget mine and she has
Yeah,
to
yeah.
reset it.
I just can't imagine going through someone's. They're like, can you go
It's a
turn
lot.
on a Spotify playlist? And I'll be like, yeah, sure, babe. And I'll go, da 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 da, and then some message pops up, and I read it out of context, and I'm like,
Oh God. Yeah.
divorce
Lose it.
Yeah.
immediately. And I just don't want to do that to myself.
No, it's nice though, because if she goes through my phone, then she just catches up on my whole life because I forget to tell her about things.
Oh, nice.
So she'll be like, "Oh, you never told me that so-and-so whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." Or she'll be like, "Wait, you're going here?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, I was meant to talk
Yeah,
to
I
you
meant to
about
tell you about that. Not me. I'd probably be like, who's Cindy? Who is
And
that?
why did you have a meeting with her at midnight?
How dare you? Yeah, so you can miss me with that stuff. That's for sure.
All right, so let's go. So your journey. Let's go back to the journey.
Oh, yeah, let's circle back to that.
So finance,
Group fitness.
group fitness,
Fitness.
dabbled. Then
Then
pharmaceuticals.
pharma, the next natural path. is to
Sales,
go
right?
into pharmaceutical sales.
Now, did they recruit you, or how does give us the process on that too?
No, so it's actually really difficult to get into
get in?
pharmaceutical sales. Yeah, you probably meet pharmaceutical sales reps and you're like, wow, what a cake job. And it kind of is, and it kind of
Once you're
isn't.
in. Once
You're in, yeah. So before that, I was working really hard. I worked all through high school and through college for a State Farm agency. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you it
Insurance.
was my dad.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Scott Amick State Farm, thank you.
Nice.
And so I kind of learned how to cut my teeth on sales through that. And of course, it was my family business, so I had a little more skin in the game. So I became relatively good at sales. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
And having gone through finance and management for 4 years, I was like, this low-key sucks. Like, I don't think I want to do this. And actually, back in high school, I was really good at my nursing classes. I was pre-med. That was when they just started making high school students pick a major when you're
Wow, I didn't know
a
that.
teen. Yeah, I can't believe they do that. Now they're like on track. You basically have to know what you're going to major in college.
Really?
By the time you're a freshman. I can't even imagine. But that's kind of where they were starting. And so I was like, I think I want to be a nurse or a doctor. I really wanted to be a PA. And my first nursing class.
My wife is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love, maybe go back to PA school, but I think I'm all set for now.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm done learning at this point. But at that time, I was fresh, I was eager.
Right.
And I went to my first nursing class where we had to interact with patients, fainted.
Blood and guts.
Immediately no.
no.
Couldn't handle
Yeah.
the blood, the urine,
I'm
any
with ya.
sort of bodily
Feces.
fluid.
Ugh.
I couldn't deal with. But I also was young, so I
Yeah.
wasn't accustomed to that at all. And so I went the stark opposite direction for college and did the boring thing. And then I was like, this kind of sucks. I don't like this a whole lot.
Right.
So then after I graduated, I was kind of soul searching,
Yeah.
and realized that the perfect kind of middle ground of getting to be in medicine, but also not,
Yeah.
and getting to use that business background is pharmaceutical sales.
Right.
And so it just felt like the perfect harmony of, my personal interests and goals. And it was really fun at first. And then you realize you're not really helping patient lives like you
Right.
thought. You're bringing donuts to doctors
Right.
and hanging out in a sample closet. And it just got to the point where I felt like I had to mentor
Yeah.
in a doctor's office, just waiting for them to come back and sign my iPad. I'm sure you've been sitting in a doctor's office before, and you've been sitting there for 45 minutes, and then a pretty little sales rep walks through in a suit and just goes right back. You're
Yep.
like, God, what a bitch.
She sucks.
And that was me. And that was me.
Yeah.
And I felt bad about it. And so
Right.
once I realized, I don't know how much I'm affecting patient outcomes by bringing people lunch every day.
Right.
I decided to hop on out of there. And so I went into OR sales. And that was really exciting. I loved working in the OR. You're like rubbing shoulders with the surgeons. You
Right.
feel important. You know this one space. I think I was in orthopedics for the longest in OR sales. And it was really cool because if something goes wrong in the case, heaven forbid, everyone's looking at you.
You're in there.
And you're like, I know exactly what to do because this is the one part of medicine that I'm an expert in.
Your
and I have
device.
to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really fun. I did like that. However, you're waking up at like 3, 4 a.m., driving to Beaufort. The patient had creamer in their coffee that day. And so they can't go through with the surgery.
Oh.
So it was very taxing. Yeah. I would just be driving all over God's green earth.
What was your what was your territory?
The whole state.
The whole state is, and
Yeah.
were you central here in Columbia?
For the most part,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've been in medical sales for over 10 years now. And for the majority of that time, I did live in Columbia, which was nice because it's kind of centralized. Now I live in Charleston. I've lived in Charleston for, I think, 6 or 7 years now.
Oh, sweet.
Which is nice, and there's definitely a lot of medical stuff to be had down there, but my parents still live here in Columbia, so that's kind of like my home base.
Yeah.
So it still works out. And then I think you guys probably saw in 2020, we were not allowed to do anything in the hospital at all. The OR, the first place that reps got kicked out of was the OR. Like, we had no business being in there. So my job basically became FaceTiming surgeons when they had a problem. And I was just like, this is so boring. And even my boss was like, you have one of the only territories that hasn't declined during 2020. So good for you. And I was like, that's interesting because I'm bored out of my mind. I feel like I have nothing to do. So I remember, let it out.
No, there's something.
The adaptogens are getting.
The adaptogens are just
Are we
adapting in my
we
throat.
gonna cut that out? Because I gotta
No.
sniffle really bad.
No, we do it
I
all.
just-
Microphone,
Just
we'll keep
feel
that.
Just
Oh, dude, I gotta get
We
out.
just
That's
gotta
our-
stretch.
that's our bio
This is
break.
our time. Yeah, this is our time.
go
to-
ahead and get your sniffles and
gotta
coughs out
sneeze.
now.
All right, I feel it's kind of gone, but there might
Yeah,
be more.
it's all those adaptogens. Just
Yes, they're working.
tingling. Good, I'm glad.
Okay.
Great.
So is there a certain look that you have to be a medical sales rep?
Well, what were you wearing on FaceTime?
On FaceTime,
Yeah.
I wasn't wearing scrubs. I can tell you that. I was
Yeah.
probably wearing my robe. I think everybody had the same depression fits
Right.
during COVID, especially during like peak COVID. You're like, I've been wearing the same pair of sweats for like 3 days now, and they don't feel dirty.
Yeah.
Like I haven't done anything,
Right.
so might as well just wear them again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so when people would FaceTime me, I'd be like, "Hey, Dr. So-and-so. Yeah, I was wearing these yesterday too." It's just, it was so boring. And so I was like, I got to do something. And I want to say that maybe there was an advertisement for Cornell University about their herbal program.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because I've always been interested in herbs. I just didn't know that like herbalism was accessible to me. I
Right.
thought you had to go to school. There was a school up in New York that I really wanted to go to, but I was like, when am I ever going to do that? And that's also, it's not a super lucrative career, I'll tell you that. And so during 2020, whenever I got this little ad pop up or something, it just kept coming up. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to check it out.
Sweet.
And so I did, and they moved everything online for the time being. So I was like, why not? So that's where I became an herbalist. And then I had kind of already seen the light. I had my own health issues that I
Yeah.
had treated both with Western medicine and a little bit of traditional Chinese medicine. So I kind of was already, a foot in both directions. And then after that, I was like, ooh, I don't know about Western medicine anymore. I
Right.
don't know about that allopathic journey for me. So I was still working in the OR and just kind of feeling burnt out, especially after having a break from waking up at 3 or 4 a.m. and driving 6 hours a day. So that's whenever I took a more, I don't want to call it a cupcake job, but I work in aesthetic medical sales, which is absolutely wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. And that's whenever I had a little more time to launch my herbal formula, my first herbal formula. And it was kind of by, I wouldn't say accidents, but just by happenstance. I started making a formula for myself, and my friends and family were like, what are you doing?
You were mixing like just herbs and.
So actually, I was taking like a supplement stack. I would say I was taking like 7 or 8 different
Right.
supplements that were all like pills. I don't know about you guys, but taking that many pills in a day, I'm not one of those people that can just like take it down
Yeah.
like a horse.
Randy could swallow anything.
I'll take 20 at a time.
I bet
No
you could just
problem.
take
He
a
just has
handful of
no doubt.
dice. and
Sometimes
just,
I don't even use water. I just put all my supplements in my
Yeah.
hand and eat it.
No, that's not me. I couldn't do it. And so I was like getting tired of just like yeeting pills all day. So I was like, you know what? Most of these I feel like I could just mix in a smoothie or coffee or something. So I did. So I just started doing that. And then I was like, this is pretty flavorless. It's not affecting my
Right.
coffee. And so I kind of accidentally came up with Vibe Up. And so
Sweet.
that's how, friends and family just started requesting it. And so I started making it. And I was like, you know what? Might as well. Might as well start putting this into the general public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you brought us some of that. So
Yeah.
it's called Vibe Up,
Vibe up.
and we put it in our coffee. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole bunch of different ingredients: MCT powder, organic coconut oil, GABA, B6, B12, theanine, tyrosine, mucuna pruriens. I don't know about.
You know, that was pretty good for your first time.
Thank you.
Mucuna pruriens, or most people call it dopamine bean.
Okay.
Dopamine bean.
Tell us about dopamine bean.
Dopamine bean. So dopamine bean is also called cow bean. Fun fact. My dad told me this. And they feed it to cows to make them happy.
Really?
And I was like, well, if it makes cows happy, then surely it
We're
can do
similar.
a lot for humans. So
Yeah.
I was doing some research, and it's actually wonderful. It really is the dopamine bean. So it just helps boost your dopamine to the point where people use it for treatment in Parkinson's disease.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a pretty good, strong herbal supplement. And I would say, I mean, a lot of people think that herbs are not that strong and they're just using them all willy-nilly. This is actually formulated like to the exact milligram of how many you should take.
I don't know why anyone would care about a cow's happiness.
But happy, what's
Like
that?
they put these cows in these tiny little things, pump them full of hormones, and then someone comes around and gives them a cow bean.
Nah, I don't want that milk. That
It
milk's
changes
sad
the
milk.
it changes the meat in the
Right.
milk.
I want the
so this is
milk
like
where the
organic,
cow- yeah.
grass-fed. Those people are going to their cows and saying,
Yeah.
"I want them to be happier."
Yeah, I want them happy cows. I want the, at this point, you know what's funny is everyone's drinking raw milk. And I'm like, honestly, I would too. I get it. Because that way,
sure.
oh yeah, for sure. And those cows are probably frolicking around in green pastures and getting fed dopamine bean. Those are the kind of cows I want to be drinking their
So
milk.
there's a place in Canada, it's called British Columbia,
Okay.
where they legalized a whole bunch of illegal, quote unquote, illegal drugs here, like meth, cocaine, but they made raw milk illegal. So I had friends there who were saying in British Columbia, you can buy meth and it's not a crime, but if you buy raw milk, it is a crime.
Meth, yes. Milk, no.
It's crazy.
That's insane.
They've lost their minds.
That sounds pretty backwards. I'm surprised it isn't like that here.
But we had raw milk delivered to our house for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how quickly it goes bad.
Really?
You
Like
don't-
how fast?
3 days,
3 days.
4 days in the fridge.
That's
And the farmers would bring
inconvenient.
it right to our house. So it was that day,
Yeah.
bring it. And within 3 days, maybe 4 days, you're starting to smell it and notice it. And it made me realize how much chemical is in quote unquote
Right.
standard milk.
Yeah, Louis Pasteur. I will say though, I don't have like stomach upset when it comes to dairy, but I do get like a runny nose. Like I'm allergic to dairy.
Right. Like sensitive.
It's devastating.
Yeah.
And so I did have some raw cheese, and I noticed that I really wasn't affected by it.
Right.
And I was like, is this my gateway drug? Am I
Right.
gonna start doing raw milk
Start
now?
hammering. Yeah.
Because milk is really good for you. It's high in protein. I don't know if y'all are on the protein train. I'm sure you are with your muscles
Yeah, you
and
could tell.
all that. Yeah, I could totally tell. But the milk is great. Like you can just have a glass of milk with your breakfast. That's another
Something sketchy
what?
about milk to me.
Isn't it? It's a little weird.
Like
It was the same with us though with our kids. They were
Yeah.
super allergic to conventional milk,
Right.
but raw milk. They
But
had
raw
no
milk, they're
problem with.
fine. That's interesting.
But the argument against milk is always that it's designed to make a baby calf really fat.
Yeah.
So if you have too much milk, it's just heavy calories
Yeah.
really quickly.
And something that I think about, something that helped me quit the milk for a while, but also if I come back into it, I'm like, well, that's because of this. So milk actually has a hormone in it that helps the baby calf, what is it called? Bond with the mother.
Yeah.
Isn't that sweet? So whenever we're really stressed out and stuff, that's when we crave like mac and cheese or a milkshake or
Oh,
chocolate
never
milk
thought
or
about
something.
that.
Yeah. So I found every time I get really stressed, I'm like, God, if I just had one string
Glass of
cheese,
milk.
is that really going to kill me? Just a glass of milk. That might be really soothing. Yeah. So yeah.
So, would you consider yourself a hippie? Like, are you in the space of that air? Like,
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm definitely hippie.
Now, when did you know you were making that transition? Like, was there a moment where you're like, or your friends are like, what are you doing?
Yeah. What are you doing now?
You're out there in your bare feet just dancing in the rain.
in the Right. That sounds dreamy, actually.
know.
That sounds really nice. And I probably would do that. I don't know. I feel like I'm still kind of like, I'm definitely bougie. There was a time where I didn't get my nails done for like
Because of the
5
yeah.
years. I was so worried about like the chemicals.
Yeah, it
There
gets
was a
too
time where I
much.
was vegan for a full year.
Wow.
At first, I felt great. And then after a while, I was like, wow, I feel
Need the meat.
ill. I am so iron deficient. There is no amount of chickpeas that is going to take me
Right.
out of this iron deficiency. I was to the point where I was like, wow, I don't know if I can get up off the couch. I was
Right.
feeling decrepit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad that we're all like super into the carnivore diet now, because I'm like, okay,
That you
cool,
can do, yeah.
cool, we're back. And we're back. But I will say, I don't know, I still am kind of hippie, but also partially bougie
Yeah.
at the same
like a
time.
good blend.
Like, I'm wearing a suit right now, but I also can assure you I haven't worn deodorant in probably like 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I just don't wear deodorant.
Now,
And I've never had any complaints. Before
Which is
we
good,
even
all right.
get started, like, I've never had anybody be like,
Good.
whew, maybe you should consider that
right.
aluminum.
Is
you know?
smell important to you? Because smells like
It is.
That's a big one on the
super,
list.
super important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Male or female. Like,
Yes.
if we're riding in the car together, I hope that you've done something
Right.
to smell good.
I'm making judgments right away if there's a smell.
Exactly.
Got it.
yeah. Stinky? No.
Gonzo.
Even if you're wearing a suit, like, no. If you stink,
Right.
something's wrong.
Right. You got to
Something.
be aware.
Yeah.
But you shave your legs and your armpits, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I told you I
That's
used
a
to
deal
sell
breaker.
laser hair removal. I'll laser my whole body. Like,
Just to,
women nowadays, we want to be dolphin smooth.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have a dolphin girl summer.
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Now, there was a video of you running down a hill I saw on your Instagram. And that was
just-
not staged, right?
No, not at all. I'm
you
just,
just
lucky
fell.
like that. Yeah. So I was with my friends. I have a bunch of friends that live in Maui, which is such a lucky place to have friends, you
That's
know?
nice.
And there's this hill there. It's absolutely gorgeous. It doesn't even look like you're in Maui. It looks like a scene out of Scotland. And so there's this hill, and we like to go and have picnics there. And I was there for my birthday, and
Just excited.
yeah, just so excited. And we're going to have a picnic, and we pull up on the hill, and we open the doors, and I realized that my friends were having some of the guys there. They were playing, I forget what birthday song. It was like Birthday by Jeremiah
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something. Really hype song. And so I'm all giddy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone's here for me. We're all playing music. It's a good time. So I start gunning down the hill, and I've got a heavy picnic basket on my arm. And I start gaining momentum, and I realize in my dumb little flippy floppies that I'm about to really
There was no
take
slowing
off.
down.
Yeah, so I just take off like a rocket
Yeah.
and just blaze past my friends and just completely eat shit. And they were all like, oh my God. And then as soon as they saw that I hadn't cracked my neck, they were
Right.
like, oh, wow.
God.
And we literally laughed about it for hours. That was the funniest reel. Like, as we were putting
was-
together that reel together, it was like a group
Right.
project. We were dying laughing. It was so funny.
I love that you like slow-moed it, stopped at those parts.
Yeah,
That was
I really slowed it down. Let everybody savor that huge fall. That was America's funniest moments
That was
for
good.
sure. That and what's funny is that's not the first time that's happened to me. That happened to me same time last year.
Really?
Same thing
hill?
happened, except I was holding a wine glass the time before. There was like a trending audio on Reels, and so I was like lip singing to this song, twirling around, and sure enough, took another tumble then
fell?
as well.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm just lucky like that, I guess. The good news is because of all that Pilates and yoga and cheerleading background, I didn't
Fine.
break anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in our relaxed and limber phase.
Yep.
So you gotta stay limber for
I like
life.
that. Feels comfortable.
So
Yeah.
what about the other areas like Botox,
Mm-hmm.
fillers, chemical peels,
Yeah.
all that stuff? Where do you stand on that?
Big fan of chemical peels still. Botox, I'm woman enough to admit I got Botox as soon as I turned, I want to say I was 27. I was living here in Colombia, and I was like, I will not age. No, I'm not going to become a victim to aging. That's not happening for me. I remember like pumping gas one time, and I saw what the beginnings of an 11 would be right there, and
Yeah.
I was like, absolutely not.
didn't want that.
So I immediately booked a Botox appointment, and I just stuck with it.
Wow.
Every 3 months, like clockwork. And you got, well, maybe you don't know. Maybe you haven't had Botox, but Botox is expensive.
Bro, is it called Brotox for guys?
Yeah,
I
if
didn't know
men
that.
get it, it's called Brotox.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Brotox. Isn't that so cool?
That's cool.
It makes it cooler.
Do you think lots of guys are getting Botox?
You can tell.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
What's the telltale signs? Because I wouldn't
That
know.
you can't
Just
move your
plastic
face.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're, I think
guy.
there's something nice. So maybe this is one of my attributes is kind of looking a little rugged. Like you need to. I mean, think
You
about.
don't want a guy with Botox.
No, think about how weird George Clooney would look if he didn't
Right.
have any wrinkles.
Right.
Leonardo DiCaprio, no wrinkles. Like that might look a little sus. And so it's interesting because for so long I was like, I shall not wrinkle. I am not going to do that. And after about, I guess, 6 years of it, I was like, something about this feels weird.
Just injecting
I'm
toxin
not
into your
wearing.
face.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, we're getting.
with ya.
We're getting toxin like botulism
Right.
injected into the muscle, and I'm not wearing deodorant. Something's not adding up. Something's not adding up here.
Right.
And so I just kept looking into it, and especially after 2020, a lot of women, and I guess men too, but mostly women, are finding that the Botox really isn't lasting as long. And we don't really know the long-term hepatic effects of
Right. All
having COVID, but obviously it's affecting a lot of different things. Your liver, Botox, longevity,
that. Yeah.
allergies. I don't know if y'all's allergies have been
Yeah.
whack ever since then. But that's one of the stranger things is people are realizing that their Botox really isn't lasting as long. And now that I haven't had it in about a year and a half, whenever I catch myself making expressions in the mirror, I'm like, oh, that's
There
so
it is.
cute.
Yeah, that's
I
what
love
you want.
that.
So I
and
told my
notice
wife.
it. Yeah, I notice it in my friends too. Like whenever they make a little, it's so cute.
Yeah, their face moves.
I'm like,
It's
I
great.
love to see it. And I look back at old pictures and I'm like, you know, I did kind of look like a clown whenever I had a little too much.
There's
Whoa.
there's
There's
threshold
sometimes where you overdo it. And working in aesthetics, like, I'm not going to lie, I'm going into med spas, plastic surgeon's office.
Right.
Like, I'm seeing it everywhere. So it was very normal for me. And so there was a time, especially when I was getting Botox for free, that I was overdoing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. And so now I look back on those pictures and I'm like, you know, it kind of made you look crazy
Yeah.
a little bit. And so I kind of think maybe the Botox that trend is kind of maybe fading out.
Right.
I mean, there's still going to be people that get it, and I'm not going to be an extremist and say I'll never get it
Pick
again.
your battles. Yeah. Pick your battles.
It did amazing for I have really bad TMJ, and so I would get Botox in my masseter
really?
muscles, and that was the one thing that helped me for
Yeah.
years. It was wonderful. It also slims your face. Most people get it just for that. But yeah, masseter Botox was a game changer for me.
Nice.
It was good, but I don't know. It doesn't really resonate with me anymore, so I'm not interested in it.
Yeah.
I'm interested in other things.
Tom had a hard time turning 40.
Oh
It was a little weird.
yeah.
Well, there's just a lot that goes to your head.
Did you get Botox?
No.
Did I just talk all that crap?
No.
Okay.
No Brotox.
I mean, you didn't know what Botox was, so I
Right.
assumed that
No,
you
I
hadn't.
tell my wife not to get Botox.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. There's so many other things. Microneedling,
Right.
chemical peels. There's so many advancements that we have, especially with lasers too, where they have practically no downtime. Why don't you just get that instead and then have your full range of emotions?
Right. I think sunlight's important.
Yes.
Bar soap on the face, very important.
I know that was a gimmick. And it
we had-
hurt
well,
me to my core.
We had some people on the show that we were like, or we had a esthetician, Jocelyn, and we were like, we
Yeah.
don't do any facial regimens.
Yeah.
And besides, like, just soap.
So I have a theory for that. And actually, one that's probably backed, not probably, it is backed by clinical
Yeah.
science. So I'll tell you. So men have such beautiful skin and they do nothing. Like y'all are using bar soap. Women are over here. We have like an 8-step regimen.
Yes, 22 minutes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we've got to put on our special little headband and the little
Right.
wrist things, like all the stuff. It's
Yeah.
just too much, and so it takes years off of our life just having to prep that morning and night every day, and yet we have wrinkly, red, irritated skin. And so the cool thing is I still work for an aesthetic company. It's a global aesthetic company.
Nice.
They had a product come out about almost 2 years ago now, and it's all about rebooting the biome. So your skin's microbiome. So if
Yeah.
you think about it, men are not disrupting their skin's microbiome. When you have a healthy skin
Just
microbiome,
let nature live on the face.
just letting nature do what it
Yes.
does. You have,
Just live in there.
exactly.
live on your face.
All those microorganisms are all like
Right.
working in tandem
Just
to
doing
make sure
work.
that they're doing what they do.
And because men shave too, like
Mm-hmm.
there's something to that where it pulls off some of the dead
Yeah.
skin.
Y'all are
and-
exfoliating
Yep.
every day
Yep.
or once a week. I don't know.
Yeah.
However.
I've started
However
shaving
often.
more. I used to not shave that much, but
No.
I have gray in my beard, and people kept saying I was way older than I am.
He's so old.
So
But
you're
then
like,
when
and for that, I will be
I started
shaving it
shaving,
off.
and now people are guessing 10 years younger.
That's okay.
yeah.
I shave my face as well.
Feet?
You
my
do?
My feet. No, if I shaved my feet.
What do you,
That's-
like a razor?
that's a whole
Do you use
nother
like
problem.
a
Like
full
a
razor?
I've seen
Yeah.
that.
Like your
They
whole,
do that at the salon
Yeah.
or
yeah.
the spa.
how often?
So if you get it professionally done, they use like an actual
Dermaplane.
razor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
dermaplaning.
just learned
Look
about
at
that.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, Jocelyn touches something.
Yep.
Good job. So dermaplaning is wonderful because it gets off that peach fuzz. We want to get rid of that. You know.
It is
Yeah.
weird when you see peach fuzz.
When you see it on women like glistening in the sunlight, you're like, gosh, she could use a dermaplane.
Right. And
Lovingly.
well,
I
you
mean that
know-
lovingly.
we kind of think like they got to be able to see that, right?
Right. No, we become blind to it because
Just the norm.
I
That
remember
is-
getting it done. It had to have been like 10 years ago. I remember going to somebody's law school graduation, and I remember my esthetician, she was doing a hydrofacial, and she was like, you know what? I'm going to do something to your face. No one's going to know what you had done, but they're going to know you had something. And sure enough,
that
she
sounds risky.
shaved, and that was the first time somebody shaved my face. And you know what? I went to that graduation the next day, and everyone was like, "Gosh, you look
They said,
so
damn,
good,
girl.
Damn, girl, your skin looks amazing.
What you doing to that face?
And I was like, oh my gosh, just shaving your face is all you got to
Yeah.
do, and it removes all
Forehead,
that.
everything, right?
Everything.
Everything.
Everything. Yeah, I even come down onto my neck. I'm like, you will not catch
going. You're
me
like, keep
with
going.
any hairs on my chinny chin chin. I'm getting rid of that. So yeah, I just do it like once a week to this day, and it's like one of my favorite things to do for myself.
To yourself?
Yeah.
Or- yeah. Okay.
Now, most estheticians are not going to want you to do that at home because you might mess it up. And those little tinkle
Right.
razors are, there's some companies that have better razors for you to use, but you
Yeah.
know, I'm not going to lie. I like the tinkle
Yeah.
razor. It's just, I know what I'm doing because I work in aesthetics, but to the average person, you might just want to let your esthetician do it, take care of it, or at least show you some techniques so that way you do it properly.
All right. Tell us more about Vibe Nutraceuticals.
Vibe Nutraceuticals.
So you have Vibe Up. What other products are you concocting?
Yeah.
And where do you see this going? Because I want to talk about the collab you did here too.
Well, we have one right here that you brought us. Vibe
That's
Beauty.
right. Vibe
Look
Beauty.
beautiful, feel beautiful.
That's right. So
And they're all powders?
They're all powders, yes. So
Okay,
like we were
nice.
saying earlier, taking pills,
Yeah.
so difficult. And I
Yep.
know it's not just me, everybody.
Yep.
Well, except for you. You love to swallow pills or dice or whatever.
anything.
Yeah, a whole beer bottle. He's just like, I'll take it.
Hot dogs.
Not a problem. So for some of us
I
that
don't. Well, just for the record, I don't love swallowing pills.
you
I'm
don't.
just fine with it.
Yeah.
Like I just think everybody else is being so soft, and I can't take one or two. I don't have
Well,
enough water. I don't have
like I
enough
said,
this. I'm like, just
I'm in my
take it.
soft girl era. I
Yeah.
want powder.
Right,
I want
dolphin.
it easy. I want it
Yeah.
to be easy. Dolphin smooth.
Right.
So the powders just seemed like a much easier thing. And I would argue,
I agree.
after working with physicians for the last 10 years, I think one of the biggest complaints I get from patients and doctors is compliance.
Yeah.
It's so hard to stay compliant if it's not easy. So that's why Vibe Up is so easy to put in your coffee, tea, smoothie. It doesn't affect the taste. And that's a nice way to get, I mean, even if you weren't taking that, just adding L-theanine with caffeine is such a potent combination for the morning. It's going to
Right.
help you focus and not have that crash later on. Obviously, Vibe Up has a couple other ingredients that are absolutely wonderful. If you took all those ingredients and bought them separately, it'd be like over $200. That's
Dang.
$55.
Nice.
So it's more about making it easy for the patient
Yeah.
and also, or client, I could say. It's about making it easy to add into your regimen. Same with the Vibe Beauty. It's a half teaspoon, and there's a little scoop in there. I'll be honest with you, a lot of people add it in water.
Yeah.
I like to take it straight, like a pre-workout. I think it tastes
No
like
water, just
herbal.
right out of
Dump
the
in it.
scoop.
I like to do a little sip of water just because it doesn't stick to your mouth.
Always
There's
open
no filler ingredients. So here's the thing is whenever I got into the supplement industry, I realized,
Right.
you know what? Supplements are almost, not quite as, but almost as dirty as the pharmaceutical industry because
sure.
you open up a pill and I can guarantee you most of that is filler
Right,
ingredients.
right.
I remember opening up, I can't even remember what it was, but it was something that was supposed to clump together.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
it was a true ingredient, I dumped it out in some water, gave it a stir, nothing.
So you would take this and put it just directly in your
Just
mouth.
right into your mouth. Yeah.
it.
It's like Pixie Sticks. There you go.
Oh God, nothing.
Oh,
came
it didn't
coming
come
out.
out.
It's
Yeah.
stuck.
You might have to give it a little tap, a little
boy.
love tap into your
boy.
mouth. It's
Oh, it's just dumping all over his shirt and everything.
It's not coming out. It's not coming out.
oh my gosh. Yeah, like I said, there's no filler ingredients. So
You gotta
try to
loosen
might
it
get
up.
I gotta
stuck
try
in
to
there.
figure this out.
So the cool thing about the beauty formula is I work for a global aesthetic company.
Yeah.
So I'm adept with all of the different
Stuff.
formulas on the market. I helped with one of their formulations for a hair formula actually, which was really fun, especially for bigwig people to come to little old me and be like, "Is this ingredient okay?"
Yeah. Right.
That was really fun. And oh my gosh.
Oh God,
yep.
what's he doing?
He really got it everywhere. Nice. Good job. Maybe
It's all down his shoulder.
nice. Rate it 10 out of 10.
What do you think?
I mean, I can. So here's one thing I really like about it is it's not sweet, so I know there's not a bunch of junk added to it.
Exactly.
That's one of the things with powders that I often
Yes.
get is it tastes too sweet, and then when I really deep dive into their ingredients, it's loaded with sucralose or sugar or something else.
Right. Yeah.
That-
This
It's,
this has
it's kind of got a sour taste to it. Maybe.
exactly. Yeah. So that's probably the hibiscus. There's camu acerola cherry, schizandra berry. But the coolest ingredient and the one that I feel most proud of to incorporate is pearl.
Oh yeah.
So pearl.
You love Pearl.
I love pearl.
As soon as I brought it up earlier, you just got
I'm
us
in
so
my
excited.
pearl era. It's so funny because I tried to avoid, like, I thought pearl was kind of like grandma-ish for a
Yeah.
long time. I was not super into it. Even my my sorority like gemstone. Each
Oh,
sorority
you were
has
in
a
a
little
sorority.
gem. I really was. I actually tried out for cheerleading and sorority on the same day. That day, that was like hell week for me.
Game-changing.
Yeah, because I had to go to the sorority stuff and to USC cheerleading
Right.
tryouts every day. They held them on the same day, so it was kind of difficult for you to do both. And somehow I made it, but I was like, if I don't make one, then I'll
Got the
have the
backup.
other. And then I lucked out and I got both. So I was like, whew.
Is
You
there
were
like
busy.
a cheerleader sorority like where most cheerleaders join,
Mm.
or are they spread out?
They were kind of spread out. I would say at that time there were a lot of Chi-O cheerleaders. I was
Yeah.
the only one. I was in tried out.
Tried out.
And so our gemstone was the pearl. And I remember being like,
Yeah.
snooze, pearl, dumb,
Old.
don't like that. And I remember thinking it was like kind of dorky for a long time. And then as I got older, I was like, pearl is actually the GOAT. Like, pearl's super cool.
Really?
And you mentioned something about that being part of Cleopatra's beauty regimen.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this really cool story of Cleopatra ingesting pearl. Dates very
And
long
pearl
ago.
is an herb. I don't.
Yeah, are we
Pearl
talking about
is
like
an
actual
herb.
pearls that you put around your necklace?
Yes. So I
Same
remember
thing?
learning about it in herb school, and I was like, wait, you can just eat
Right.
pearl,
Go home and-
powdered pearl. That's weird. Or I guess for you, you could just swallow it like pills.
Yeah, I
Just
couldn't
go home
get
and
it
eat
out
a
of the little
bracelet.
thing.
Go eat your wife's bracelet.
Yeah, just be like, delicious. So yeah, you can have powdered pearl, and I was like, I don't know about that, but I was intrigued by it. I remember being very intrigued by it.
Yeah.
And so I read this story about Cleopatra, and she told Antony that she was going to throw the most lavish dinner party. And he was like, all right, bet. I think they were really bored back in those times. So they were just like,
sure.
let's have a lavish dinner party. So she said it's going to be the most expensive dinner party he's ever been to. And he was like, all right, Cleo, whatever.
Cool.
Like, pop off. And so she has them come in and everything's all decorated, all pretty. They've got the long buffet table and la la la. And she's wearing these 2 pearl earrings. Fun fact, the 2 largest pearls ever known in the world, Cleopatra owned both of them, and she wore them as earrings. Flex.
Oh, wow.
That's so cool. And so she's wearing her pearl earrings, and she's sitting there with him, and they're chatting and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you know, I thought that this was a beautiful dinner party, but I can't say it's the most expensive dinner party I've ever been to. And she coyly, and this is all history assumptions, but it's a cool story, so I'm just gonna keep going with it. And so she takes her earring and she puts it into her wine glass, swirls it around, it fizzes, and she gulps it down.
What?
Yeah. So those were at that time worth millions of dollars
Said,
each.
let me show you.
And
I'm
she
gonna
was like,
swallow this pearl.
yeah, she was
Then
like, I'm just
gold
gonna drink
coin.
it in my wine.
Wow.
Yeah, because the wine would dissolve because of the vinegar. It would dissolve the pearl because pearl is essentially mostly calcium.
Really?
Yeah.
You know
So
where my
she's
brain
just
went?
like,
I was like, I was thinking she's going to poop that out and it would just be like a pearl.
no, it would have dissolved.
Like nothing changed.
Yeah, it would have dissolved. So she just basically had like the most delicious antacid.
Yeah. Sweet.
Isn't that
I went through a
amazing?
phase where I was reading about Cleopatra a lot because
Really?
she would seduce the most powerful men in the whole world.
Yeah.
And not just one, but she did multiple, I think.
Yeah.
I think she did Mark Antony,
Right.
Marcus Aurelius, maybe. I remember reading
Yeah.
all these stories about her, how she just went from one to another, and it was just like,
What was her
she's kind of like
secret?
the Casanova
What's
of her
her
day.
secret? She was really smart. So, fun fact about me: whenever I was little, I was like weirdly obsessed with Cleopatra. I have a
Really?
picture. Yeah, everyone in I forget what grade. Maybe it was like 4th or 5th grade. We were supposed to dress up and like research someone from history. And everyone did like Abe Lincoln or Amelia Earhart. And I was like a really serious kid. And I was like, Cleopatra. And I remember my mom being like, she has some really serious themes in her life.
Oh, boy.
Are you sure you want to do that? And even the teacher was like, are you sure? And I was like, I want to learn about her.
Yeah.
And so I was learning all these things, and like she really was a flirt, but she was very smart. And so I think for her time, she found it very difficult to kind of like relate to other men other than these people that held a lot of power because they also were really smart. So they were like really the only people that could meet her
Right.
on her level. So yeah, I think one of her 4 pillars of requirements would definitely be being smart.
Yeah.
So she kind of had no choice.
I kind of think of Demi Moore like her too, because she
Oh,
dated,
yeah.
or she was married to Bruce Willis, I think, right?
That's right, yeah.
And then as she got older and they divorced, then she went to Ashton Kutcher, who was
Kutcher.
way younger, which is how I picture
Right.
Cleopatra.
Yeah, she knew what she wanted.
She's getting that younger dude.
Yeah, and she
I-
was using
yeah.
Pearl as her beauty formula. She didn't have Botox at that time.
Millions
so
of
she was
dollars
looking
worth
good.
of Pearl
Yeah.
supplements.
Yeah, she's just taking her Pearl supplement every day, looking great.
So if you had an unlimited budget,
Mm-hmm.
would you just take pearls, dissolve them in vinegar, and eat it all the time?
Maybe I would. It is an amazing shin tonic. So that's one of the things is, let's bring it home real quick. So the Pearl is so cool because it's one of the best shin tonics. So shin is your life force energy. If you think about celebrities like Julia Roberts.
Yep.
What's her name that plays Elle Woods? Oh my God.
Reese Witherspoon.
Reese. I'm so sorry, Reese. I'm so sorry. I forgot.
Did you know you
I
knew
got
that?
you.
Reese Witherspoon.
Who's Elle Woods?
Oh my God. You never seen Legally
Honey,
Blonde?
what?
Oh, Legally Blonde.
Legally Blonde. Yeah,
Yep.
L, Woods. Both Gemini vegetarians.
I have seen that.
Yes. So if you think about those kind of celebrities, they
Right.
just seem so happy all the time. Whether they're wearing makeup or not, they just look so
Yes.
beautiful. So they have really strong shin. So your shin is your life force energy, and it usually shines through your eyes.
Where do you
There's
find that? Or where are you learning about that?
That?
The energy, these energies you're speaking
herb
of.
school?
Herb school?
Yep. So that's something you learn in herbalism. They teach you a lot about traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay.
And so shin is a really
And
big
that's
marker
what
of your
Pearl-
health.
Pearl just
So Pearl's one of the
ignites it.
best shin tonics. There's a couple other. I know reishi is one of them.
Yeah.
A very eccentric one would be deer antler. I don't see.
Yes.
I don't know that I've seen anybody ever take deer.
Well, I've heard
antler.
about that.
I haven't myself.
Like
I've heard about that a
testosterone
lot.
stuff.
Right.
Or growth.
Sure. Yeah.
Velvet. Yeah, I think it was the velvet. Maybe.
Exactly. Yes. So I haven't gotten there. Pearl just resonated more with me. So I was like, I think I'm just gonna do pearl and reishi. That seems good enough for me. And so I started incorporating that into a supplement. I hadn't made Vibe Beauty yet. I started with pearl. And it was really difficult because it doesn't really taste like anything and it doesn't really mix well into stuff. And so I had really almost given up on it. And I have to give a shout out to my friend. She is, I don't know how woo-woo y'all are.
Oh, we're woo-woo. I'm more
Tom's
so than
way
Rand.
more woo than me.
Y'all, okay. I can work
love
with
it.
that. I can work
love
with
all
that.
that stuff.
So I have a friend that is a psychic medium. And she has a podcast.
Really?
Yeah. She's down in Charleston. She's very talented. At first I didn't really know whether to believe in it or not. And then I had my reading with her and I was like, it's
spot on.
It was spot on. It was very good. It really like confirmed a lot of things for me. But what's interesting is she invited me onto her pod a few months before we had that date. And so the month before the pod, my grandma passed. Which, I mean, she was alone, you know, kind of knew that time was coming, but it was still sad. And so I was really looking forward to the reading that I had with her. She does the reading live on her podcast. Oh. So I was like, I hope she's ready for me to cry.
Yeah, jeez.
I'm going to be a mess. Yeah. But I held it together pretty well. But it was very interesting because in the middle of the reading, of course, my grandma came through. That was like the first thing. And I knew that was going to happen.
Right.
And she's a friend of mine, but she didn't really know the intricacies of my relationship with my grandma. So there were other things that she said before to confirm. But at one point we got kind of quiet and she was kind of sitting there thinking, doing what she does. And she was like, your grandma is saying something about pearl. And I was like, what? I just got chills again just thinking about it. And it was so funny because that week too, I had been like really giving up on the whole pearl idea. And I was like,
no kidding.
I don't know. And I will say being in the supplement industry is really hard because there's so many other companies out there that have a lot of investors and money into it. And it's just, I'm out here bootstrapping this business with my other job. Yeah. And so I was like, do I really want to put out another formula? Like I know it would help people, but it's just been really difficult to master making it.
Sure.
And it's expensive too. Pearl, as you can imagine, is an expensive ingredient. So I really had almost given up on it. And that same week I had been in a local apothecary in Charleston and I had seen pearl on their shelves. It was the first time I've ever seen pearl on a shelf. And so I saw that and then her bringing it up through my grandmother, I was like, pearl, we've got to figure it out. And so sure enough, I just sat down after that and I just whipped some stuff out. And it turned out that it tasted amazing. Like I definitely had to do a lot of tweaks with Vibe Up to make sure that it didn't affect the flavor of people's coffee and stuff. But I found that like powdered glutathione just by itself kind of tastes like mango. Yeah. Like it's delicious. Hibiscus tastes really good by itself. Acerola cherry, camu camu. So like all the ingredients kind of tasted good already without any sugar. Yeah. And so I just put them together and added the pearl and it just blended flawlessly. And I was like, dang, all right. And there we have it. And it's a beauty powder. The cool thing is even though it's marketed as a beauty powder, it's kind of a little trick to people because it's actually high dose vitamin C, which I think everybody needs.
Yeah, everybody.
You can't get enough vitamin C, especially for patients that have autoimmune disorders or what have you. I don't know if you guys know this, but 99% of vitamin C on the market, ascorbic acid, is derived from GMO corn.
Oh, really?
Corn.
Just shit.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Shit in a box.
So once I learned that, I started being really discerning with ingredients.
How you source it.
Yeah, because if it's not sourced from GMO corn, then it's from citrus. So this is another.
Which seems like that's where you just get it from.
Right, citrus.
Yeah.
And so you know what's interesting is we were talking about the long-term hepatic effects of COVID and the long COVID, and a lot of people are like really having these new symptoms they've never had before. And so ever since 2020, I think I got COVID like 4 or 5 times. Like my body just kept getting it. I was like, oh, I love it.
Come on
it's
in.
great.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
And so after that, I just kept getting these weird symptoms. Like I was starting to be allergic to things I had never been allergic to, like peanuts.
Yeah.
Can you imagine never having peanut butter again?
Right.
So then it became citrus. And I was like, ooh, now I can't take vitamin C that has citrus in it because it's starting to it would make my mouth numb. That's not good.
Really?
Yeah, that's not good. And so then I started realizing, oh, a bunch of my other supplements, like if they have any flavoring to them, citrus.
Has that.
Yeah, lemon oil, you name it.
Right.
So I really had to cut down on the supplements. So it's given me this like, little bit of momentum to really dive into the supplements and make sure that I'm providing something to people that even I can take, as sensitive as I am.
Do you go to I imagine there's like a warehouse of supplement powders that you can go and like choose.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
So it was actually really hard to source a manufacturer. Oh my gosh, yes. Because like I said, so many places will have, like brown rice powder seems to be the most popular one. Like I can guarantee you if you pop open a capsule and you took it to a lab.
That has it in there.
It's crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so many other bad ingredients. They're not necessarily terrible. The FDA allows a certain amount, but if you think about the common person, they're probably not just taking one supplement a day. Sorry, microphone. They're probably taking several. And so by the end of that, even B12. Let's talk about B12.
Yeah.
People are taking B12 in supplement form. And then it's also probably in their multivitamin.
Yeah.
And then they're going and eating a Celsius or, whatever energy drink. And I can almost guarantee that all of those are going to have the synthetic form of B12, cyanocobalamin. Where do you think cyanocobalamin comes from?
Which is crazy that they use that.
I remember seeing that.
Cyanide.
Right.
What? That's so
Makes
crazy
no
to me.
sense.
So even though the FDA allows like a certain amount in the day, then it only applies to that one supplement. Once you start stacking all those other things, you realize, oh, I've had way more than the daily allowance of cyanide in my diet. So it's just really crazy. And half of the population can't even metabolize that form of B12. You need the methylated. Have y'all gotten into that rabbit hole yet?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Gary Breck is heavy into that.
Yep, I love Gary.
But that's the nice thing about the local supplements or the smaller business ones is they do a good job. And I always think that most supplement companies start out really good.
Trying, yeah.
And once they get big enough and they get trust, then they sell out to Nestle or some big company, and then that company destroys it.
Exactly.
I know people who have started incredible companies,
Right.
and then they ended up being offered so much money that
they can't say
ended up
no.
selling it. Yeah.
So something that I really am proud of myself for is it doesn't have to do with my supplement company, but with my other job. I won this really amazing national contract for this company. And I was approached by another company that has a lesser product than what the company I work for has.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of commission that could have been made from this, from just brokering this deal. Not only would that have broken my contract, but I'll be honest with you, even thinking about upwards of $1 million, like $1 million to be made on this one deal, the thought of thinking about those patient outcomes for the rest of my life would have made me feel like that would have eaten me up inside.
Yeah.
And so I feel really, that actually happened pretty recently. I've been so stressed. It's been keeping me up at night because I'm like, there is a part of me that's like, that was a lot of money. Was that dumb? Was that kind of stupid of me?
Well, here's the thing.
Aesthetics.
It's going to be 10 million soon, and then it's going to be 100 million. Everybody, you got to have a number.
Exactly. Yeah.
$1 billion, you might sell out a little bit.
I don't know, honestly.
I'm not saying that you will. I'm just saying most of the time that's what happens.
Yeah.
Or you get a little tired. You've been in the game for 25 or 30 years.
Yeah. So my North Star is Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx.
She's great.
I love her amount of integrity and compassion for her community. And so she really lucked out by being able to sell her company to people that she knew that she could trust. So I hope that someday this company is huge. And I do think that maybe it will be, just because I'm so committed to patient outcomes. that I hope that translate into the success for this
awesome.
business. But at the same time, if I'm going to sell it, I want to make sure what comes to mind first is Bragg's apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
They got sold out. Katy Perry bought it. And then I think they sold it off to, I can't remember his name, somebody else. And now the apples that they're using have the appeal on it. So yeah, now I can't even use Bragg's apple cider vinegar
That's how it works.
because they got sold out, dude.
America's wild.
It's really disappointing. And so I think, honestly, I think that was kind of like my first test of integrity.
Yeah.
And I feel like even though
passed.
that money would have been real nice right about now, I just found out, I don't know if y'all see me over here sniffling.
Yeah.
I just found, I was wondering why I've been having all these like symptoms and stuff. And I was like, gosh, my brain fog is really bad. I feel like I have like MS or something. Like I really need to go get
Yikes.
this checked out. Debilitating. There was one day last week where I went to go, my joints were hurting so bad. I went to go open the door and it was hard for me to open the door. And I was like, all right, we're not just having an autoimmune flare. Like something's happening. Sure enough, I looked up. I still have my sales job. So this was Friday was the last day of the quarter. So for the last like 2 weeks, I've been working at home way more than ever. So I have this little chair. My sister just rearranged my living room for me. And she put this little chair, and there's like a fur blanket there, and there's that infrared mat underneath it. So I've been sitting there with the air conditioning blowing down on me. It's been the perfect work from home situation. And I was sitting across from it the other day, and I noticed the Wi-Fi router is behind the couch.
Oh, yeah.
And not only that, I look up at the ceiling, and the air vent had mold on it.
Just getting hammered.
So I've been getting hammered with Wi-Fi and mold,
people don't think that
air.
Right.
And I was just like, no wonder I've been feeling like shit.
Yeah, people don't think about that stuff.
And I've been away from it for 3 days, and even still, my eyes are still kind of watery, and I'm having a runny nose, and it's just people don't really think about all these things in our environment. And that's one thing that, I mean, a lot of people come to me for herbal suggestions and stuff. And I'm like, have you thought about prioritizing your nervous system or just like considering your environment? Because if you really think about it, your body's responding to your environment exactly as it should. Like almost probably better than it should be. So you should be proud of your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be into chiropractic care then.
Oh,
Gotta
for sure.
be.
For sure. Yeah. I love to get an adjustment. Yeah.
Good.
I'm actually in the market if there's anybody in Charleston.
Oh, we got a couple people.
Or you do? Yeah, nice. Yeah. I went to the Joint. I don't know if that's bad, but as
That's
someone
like
who
going to
travels, stop. Is it really?
Yeah.
No. I liked the convenience.
Well,
Only because I travel so much.
And sometimes I guess it depends on like you might get a good doctor at the Joint.
Right.
But for the most part, it's rough.
It's rough.
Yeah.
I have had that experience before where I went to the same doctor over and over again in the one in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
And he was great.
Yeah.
And he had his own practice too. So that's probably why.
There you go.
Then around like Christmas time last year, I came up here. I thought this man was gonna break me like a glow stick.
Right.
Like literally, he was just so rough with his adjustments. No, I'm not talking crap about the Joint, but like that doctor in particular, I was like, and people were requesting him too, and I was like, I don't know why.
Yeah.
I feel scared to come back to this location.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember his name, and I'm scared to get called back there and be like, oh God, it's that
There
guy.
he is.
There he is. I can't do that. So now whenever I'm in Columbia, I know where to come now. Thank you.
Do you know what another big thing is? Why when you're talking about the Wi-Fi router
Yeah.
is cell phones.
Yes. Oh, I know.
And Tim Ferriss, he did his own little experiment about sperm count, where he had his cell phone in his front pocket,
Yeah.
measured his sperm
I think I've
count.
heard about that.
It's crazy the number of people who have their phone in their pocket and can't get pregnant.
That's
and I think they just
insane.
need their phone away
Right.
from them.
Yes, exactly. Even the new iPhone 15 has like a disclaimer on it. I didn't even see it.
Really?
Somebody else brought it up that said that you shouldn't keep it near your body.
Yeah.
What? I mean, we kind of know that, but for it to finally have that little disclaimer, it's a little concerning.
Right.
I'm not going to lie.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you have like a little science lab at your house?
A little science.
Like what?
I mean, I have my kitchen. For
Is that
sure.
where you do like concoctions?
I definitely like to experiment. I mean, in a dream world, if this were my like main gig, I would definitely just be mixing in the kitchen like Fetty Wap, just experimenting with stuff. I definitely have some rough drafts of some different supplements that I would like to come out with. I don't know which one will come next. I even thought about electrolytes. Those seem to be
Those are
super
massive.
hot right now.
Yeah.
And they're just, I don't know, they're a dime a dozen at this point. So I don't know if I'll get into that. I think they're a little overpriced.
Right.
And that's something I'm really proud of is all my supplements are super affordable. And I think, I'm not sure, correct me on this, but we have a financial aid assistance for people that do have chronic illness. All they have to do is email us
Cool.
at vibe@vibenutraceuticals.com if you
Nice.
need it. And that way we provide a significant discount for people that really need these supplements. So I think that's really important just to make it accessible to everyone, because that's why a lot of people just continue to be sick because what's accessible to them is Taco Bell and McDonald's and ascorbic acid and regular milk.
And what about wholesale? Do you do any of that?
We have a few wholesale accounts. We've been really discerning about it. If you're interested, we have been thinking about bringing it to Colombia, so that would be super fun. It's also been really nice to see It's a Vibe, which is our collab with Dolly Sophia. I was at the Gourmet Shop not too long ago, and I walked in there and I was like, oh my gosh, it's our collab.
Yeah.
So that Dolly Sophia, the owner Zach, reached out shortly after we launched Vibe Nutraceuticals. And he said, I really like your formula. Would you ever be interested in a collab? And I was like, a collab? Oh my God.
No brainer.
It's my favorite kombucha company. They have, I'm not just saying this because he reached out, but truly, like, they have the best. And they have some of the funnest flavor names as well. So I was like, I would love to brainstorm with you. And so we came up with It's a Vibe. And so that has a couple of our ingredients in it. And it's just been so fun to see it pop up. I ran by 14 Carat this morning.
Yeah.
They had some there too.
Really?
Yep.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
This says science plus nature equals magic.
That's right.
Love that.
So it's called It's a Vibe.
It's a Vibe.
And it looks like a can. Almost looks like a soda can, right?
Yeah. And the flavor.
Looks like a can.
The
Like
flavor
just a
is
normal-
really
Yeah.
fun.
I always think of kombucha in weird
Yes.
bottles.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that it tastes very vinegary. I will say there are some kombuchas that are just kind of
Yeah.
the way that he adds the flavor in really is different from any other company. I'm pretty sure it's trade secret, so I'm not going to share that here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's very good, and his background as a sommelier just makes him really good with flavor. So I'm really proud of the product. Yeah, I want to say it's been their best selling.
And so this one's
Of this
passion
year?
fruit, kiwi, ginger, elderflower,
Mm-hmm.
and Vibe blend.
And Vibe Blend, that's right. So it's kind of like a clean energy drink. And if you want, I don't know if y'all are living the alcohol-free life. I dabble.
Yeah,
If I were in Mexico right now and there was a margarita presented to me,
Can't
I'm
say
gonna
no to
drink
that.
it.
Yeah, you can't say
a
no to that.
Tajin rim. I'm not gonna say
Oh,
no to
God.
that ever.
Great.
So I mean, but for the most part, I kind of tend to be alcohol free. I just find that I don't really need it anymore, and so I'll usually just drink one of those instead, or a recess even.
Yeah.
And they're great.
Do you get into any illegal herbs?
Illegal herbs. I think. Wow, that had me choking on my microphone. Not really. I don't really, especially as someone who's prone to brain fog. Even before, did I just say brain frog?
Yep. You're having it now.
God. So that brain
You
frog.
need a quick shot of this powder.
It really gets to me. But yeah, brain fog is just something that I don't like to deal with. And I had it long before, whenever I was in my cheerleading days at USC, when we were
Even had
really
it
good
then.
at sports. I got a concussion, and I don't think it was my first one. Yeah. So she was properly concussed. I was actually on bed rest for like 6 weeks.
So you were a flyer? Like you got tossed?
Yes.
Really?
And I actually didn't get dropped. A lot of people think like, oh, you got dropped on the ground at a game. Ooh. It was actually the Tennessee game on Halloween, and we beat them, and it was a really big deal.
You were just partying.
No, I wasn't partying.
Like
it was
headbanging.
during the pregame, and I was so excited. I was on Bring It On, Missy, and she's like not super into cheerleading. That's kind of how I was. I actually don't even really know why I got into cheerleading because I loved gymnastics growing up.
Oh, okay.
And so I basically went to school and I was like, your school has no gymnastics team. This was a last resort. So I got into cheerleading and I just like happened to be good at it. So I was
Sweet.
like, whatever. So I tried out for the cheerleading team. I actually didn't make it the first time. A little story in perseverance.
Ooh.
And so I was like, ooh, I can't have that. I'm going to go back and try harder. So I worked all summer. I went back in August, and that's when I did the sorority and the cheerleading. And I was like, at least if I don't make cheerleading, I'll have sorority. And so I made the team. It was awesome. It was one of the best, I would say the best 4 years that any collegiate cheerleader has ever had, because our football team was amazing. We had Jadavian Clowney, Marcus Lattimore. I mean, we had an all-star team at the time. We won the national championship for baseball 2 years in a row.
Right.
That was amazing. I got to be Cocky's little friend and go on tour to all the Gamecock Club events. And we would like bring, not the actual trophy, we would bring the replica of the trophy. And I hate to tell you, but we would stuff that thing in the back trunk with a towel over it. I'm so sorry, but that's what we did. And it was just so fun. But yeah, definitely the time that I had a concussion, I was on bed rest for about 6 weeks.
Dang.
One of those, I don't know if it's a HIPAA violation, but one of our all-star quarterbacks had a concussion at the same time. They cleared we did our like concussion test at the same time, and I was like, whoa, his was pretty bad. Like, mine was bad, but I think his might have been worse. He was playing the next game.
Golly.
They took him out of one game, and he was back playing the next weekend. I was on bed rest for 6 weeks.
Wow.
So, yeah, you could say that that's when I started getting more aware of brain health.
Yes.
I remember really the only thing they could do for me was give me fish oil pills.
Oh, really?
I'm sure they were just laden with mercury at the time before they had, third-party testing and whatnot. And they were expired. If you were an athlete, you got expired medications from the local pharmacies. Thank you for your donations, by the way.
That's great.
But all my inhalers, they were expired.
What?
Because they're donated and they're still good. It's kind of like eggs. Like they're still good for a couple weeks after they expire. An inhaler is good for like a year after it expires. They just can't guarantee. Yeah, that's what they said. Right. So, yeah, I became very aware of health at that time.
Did you tell us how you got the concussion?
Oh no! See, that's the brain frog. That's the brain frog. He's just ribbit up in there.
You were partying on the
with
balcony.
All the dust. No. So I was at the beginning of pre-game. There's just R's.
Things are happening.
Floating in left and right. I can't stop him. So we were at the pre-game for the game. Like all the cheerleaders are out on the field. We're getting the crowd riled up before the game starts. Yep. So the game hasn't even started yet. So we're just doing like stunts in the end zone. And I felt really excited because I was just like the worst little cheerleader there ever was. I had such a little attitude. I was like Missy from Bring It On, truly. I was like, I don't even want to be here. Yeah. I don't like football. It's just such a piece of shit whenever I was a teenager. And so I got to, somebody was either sick or got hurt or whatever, so I got to take her spot. And she had one of the best guys on the team that could like throw her up and do all these crazy stunts. So I got to fill in for her. So I was like, I finally get to show off in front of all my sorority sisters. and the student section looked like really cool. And so I got to do all these stunts, and I wasn't used to stunting on this guy in particular. He's super strong. And so he pops me up and I come down. I'm doing what's called a double down, which is when you do 2 little twisty twists and then they catch you. He's catching me, and I'm sure he wasn't used to catching me either because I was a little bigger than the cheerleader that he at 5'1", 110 pounds. I was bigger than the girl that he was used to. Wow. And so he had his arms just ready. Yeah. And so he catches my big, girthy body. Girthy and waist. His arms were like kind of like stiff. Yeah. And so you know what happened. My neck just snapped. Oh. And so I thought I had whiplash. Yeah. And so he sets me out, and that was like the last stunt that we did of the day. And so or at least for pregame. And so I get set out. Yeah. Immediately, my feet hit the turf, and I was like, where am I supposed to be right now? And he was like, run that way. And I was like, all right. And so I ran one way, and the cheerleaders are set up in front of the student section. Yeah. and then the home section, and then the dance team has the other section. And then the other third of the team is up doing appearances. We're like,
Crowd stuff,
yeah, crowd
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
We're working the crowd. And so I could not remember for the life of me where I was supposed to be. And so I get set out of the stunt. I go run in one direction, and I just stood up against the wall with my assistant coach, and I was just standing there watching the game, and he was like, aren't you supposed to be somewhere right now? And I was like, I don't know.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm such a silly goose that he, like, everybody knows that I'm just like cutting up, not taking anything seriously. He thought it was just a gimmick. And so he was just like, get out there. And so I get out there and I'm trying to like go along with everybody and do the little dances. I don't remember the choreography because my brain just got rocked inside my skull. I didn't hit my head, and so nobody
Just
knew.
that much, yeah.
And I just thought it was whiplash. And I wasn't cognizant for the fact that I was being just the silliest goose around. And so I'm sitting there like doing the dances wrong. Everyone thinks that I'm like, this is like a bit. Yeah. And they're like, wow, Alex is really committed to the bit today. She is going to get in trouble. She's going to be running laps at the next practice. And so everyone's laughing and carrying on. I'm like doing back tucks and like catching grass in my teeth on the way up, just like not landing anything. And I cheered that entire game and was like, hee hee.
So you made it through the whole game?
The whole game.
Wow.
Then I go home. Keep in mind, we just won. We just beat Tennessee.
So you're having cocktails now.
No. I somehow in my brain, I knew that it was a bad idea to drink alcohol. However, I still put on my little Halloween costume and went out that night. And was out until the wee hours of the morning with my sister. And there's pictures. And I looked fine. I'm sure if you looked really closely, my pupils were probably like... And so I just remember waking up the next day, and we had a family get-together, and we all got together for lunch. And my sister actually drove me there. And we were all, talking and stuff.
Yeah.
And my family thought that I was hungover. Like, they thought I was drunk because I was having a hard time, like, putting sentences together. And, of course, I'm a silly goose, so they just think everything's totally fine. I'm just, like, being a little extra.
Around.
Yeah, just goofing. And so finally, one of my aunts, she was like, are you all right? And I was like, yeah, Aunt Susan, of course I'm fine. I feel great.
She's like, my name's Amy.
Yeah. She's like, my name's actually Amy. So she, then everyone starts to get concerned, and they're like, oh my God, did you hit your head? And I was like, no, but I did get whiplash yesterday. And they were like, you should go get your head checked out. And sure enough, I went to the urgent care. They did some imaging, and yeah, they were like, wow, you really knocked your head pretty good, huh? And I was like, did I? I feel like the athletic department is going to be really mad when they see this. So sure enough, I showed it to the athletic doctors on Monday, and they were like, you're not practicing.
Wow.
In fact, you won't be cheering for weeks. So that was one of our best seasons, and unfortunately... Yeah, I was ground bound, and I had to just watch. There were a few games where they said that the lights would be too bright, so I wasn't even allowed to go to the game.
That's a bummer.
Such a
You'd
bummer.
think they'd give you like a megaphone and you just stand on a sideline.
Yeah, just let me stand there.
scream some
I think legally they were like, she's a liability. Like, she cheered a whole game, just being absolutely crazy. They're like, delete that footage. We don't need that on our records. And so, yeah, I was sent home.
That's nuts.
But eventually I did get to come back and cheer the rest of the season. I did have to wear sunglasses for one of the games.
And a neck brace.
In the dark, too. It was like a night game, and I was wearing sunglasses, and I was like,
Like,
I'm giving
what
off
is she
Stevie
doing?
Wonder vibes.
She's blind.
Well, I do think from all the car accidents that we see, people come in from a car accident.
Oh, for sure.
The number who don't get checked out or any type of care after an accident is really high. But then often the ones that do, I've been looking in this new concussion software. They're trying to get better and better at it.
Right.
Where you can look at a screen and they'll use AI to figure out if your
No
pupils
way.
move properly. So instead of having to get all this really expensive imaging, which
Yes.
people are hesitant to do,
Exactly.
you can get diagnosed really quickly. And
I
even,
love that.
even before the point where you're like forgetting your name and forgetting what to do.
I mean, those were tough times. And the only treatment at that time,
Rest.
fish oil pills.
Oh, fish oil, yeah.
Fish oil pills. He was like,
Loaded
you
with
might want to
mercury.
take it with so the dosing was 5 pills 3 times a day. Well, when you're kind of
And
nauseous,
you couldn't swallow those. Those are massive.
never. I can assure you, I was not taking
No.
15 fish oil pills a day. Maybe one day, and then I was like, I can't do
Not
it.
happening.
But whenever you're nauseous and your head's hurting, like, you're not taking that. And he was like,
you're burping them up.
yeah, they were not flavored at that time. There was
Yeah.
no like orange or lemon zest added
Yikes.
to it. So it was just nasty, dude. Just nasty.
Do you find it? A guy called me a silly goose one time.
Oh, okay.
Is that weird? And I didn't really know him that well.
No?
No.
Like, in what context?
It was a guy like doing work at my house. And
he called you a silly goose in your own home.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of
And
disrespectful.
the more you said it, the more time you say it, I was like, it's such
You're
a
getting
weird.
PTSD.
I'm getting PTSD. I'm like, what should I
be laugh.
It's like, what do you say to that?
I mean, I take it as a compliment. Like,
Yeah.
life is just a game, you know?
You
And it's better
silly
to be a
goose.
silly goose than to take it seriously. So,
And
you know?
and you like it. Like you use it often though.
I did.
I
I
think
I
it's a
was in my mind. I was like, okay, everyone take a shot every time I say silly goose because I'm pretty sure I said it
Yeah.
upwards of like 5 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I would.
I
like
think
it
it's
if someone
fine. I
called
don't-
me a
It's
silly
the
If I
brain
called
frog.
you a silly, oh, stop, you
Yeah.
silly goose. Like, think about how weird that is.
so weirded
It was
out.
so weird. And like not friends. Like, one thing if you're friends,
Yeah.
not at all.
Hearing you say it now,
It
does
was strange.
seem
I
a
was
little
calling
sus.
yourself a silly goose is
Sure,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then calling your friend a silly goose would be
Guy
weird.
to
But
guy,
calling
too.
someone you don't know, yeah, guy to
Guy
Guy
guy.
to
guy.
guy's another
If it's a
level of
kid, like if
silly
I called
goose.
my 7-year-old
Yeah,
a silly
that's-
goose, that'd be like
That's
all right.
normal.
And in your own home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And it was just like caught me by surprise. I'm like, that's not the like that doesn't even register.
Yeah.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
start
know.
using that on people
Silly
more.
goose.
As you should.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
All right, now your Instagram account is Urban Dictionary,
Yeah.
but it's
With
not
an H.
Yeah,
With the H.
H-E,
Herban.
Herban. Now, do you know what Urban Dictionary on Google is?
Yeah, that's why
You
it's a
did
play on
this.
words. It's a play on words. Urban Dictionary is kind of like a nice take on being a know-it-all.
Yeah.
Whenever I grew up, I
like
was
that.
just always. My mom actually told me a story recently. She said, "You know, when you were 8 years old, you were the one that taught me the difference between Advil, Aleve, and Tylenol.
Ah.
You just started rattling off like acetaminophen is blah 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 blah
Yeah.
at 8." And I was like, honestly, that tracks. That makes sense. I've been a little nerd since birth.
But Urban Dictionary online is like for like derogatory terms, right? Like,
Well, slang.
I don't
or
know.
slang, like-
slang. Yeah, I definitely use it. So like the kids
only time I
nowadays,
use it is like if you say something, I'm like, what is that?
like Riz.
Riz,
I remember
yes.
somebody saying Riz, and I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I don't know what that means.
So you go on Urban Dictionary.
And so I was like, Urban Dictionary, what is
Yeah.
Riz? Oh, charisma. Got it.
Boom.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Boom. Yeah, you
But
learn
I've been hearing
something.
you say sus, bet.
Sus.
Low key, high key.
Low key, high key.
Sigma,
Yeah.
Skibbity.
Sigma. I just learned about
Did you
Sigma.
learn about Skibbity? Skibbity Ohio Riz? Means
What
it's,
is that?
You're cringy.
Cringy?
Yeah. You don't want
Ah.
Skibbity Ohio. You want to be a Risley Bear.
Grizzly Bear. Or like the Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're
That's
a
game.
wizard,
That's-
Harry.
That means you got game.
Okay,
You
I
guys
like
are
that.
just silly geese.
But the skip
Silly geese. Plural.
that's us, just two honky boys.
All right. So people can follow you at Urban Dictionary.
Yes.
Urban Dictionary.
Herban.
H-E-R-B.
Dot
And then
dictionary.
now you're into this stuff too. We saw you're into Mercury and Saturn retrograde stuff.
Oh,
What does
I'm
all
into
that
it.
mean?
I'm down with it.
Give us like a summary, like for a guy like Randy's super into astrology. And
Are you really?
I'm an Aries. I'm a fire sign.
I'm an Aries too.
I
oh,
felt
you guys
it.
have the
Yeah.
same
I knew
birthday.
it.
No, we don't.
Yes.
April 8th?
Yep.
What?
No, it wasn't.
Stop. Are you a March? Are you an April?
April
Aries?
12th.
April 12th. Okay, cool.
4 days.
I
Do you
as-
get into
There,
Yeah,
and there's
tell
a
us about
club
this.
in New York right now that won't let you in if you're an Aries.
Yeah.
Because
makes sense.
all the fights are started by Aries.
that makes sense.
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie.
So you follow all that stuff.
As much as I don't want to, I have
love
been deep into it since
Yeah.
college.
All right. What
I
got you
remember
into
being in college and just reading my horoscope in the Daily Gamecock, and I
Yeah.
was like, and I would read it at the end
You're
of the
like,
day.
"That's me."
Instead of letting it like influence my day, I would wait until the end of the day, and I would be like, oh my god, my day really was like that.
it? Yeah.
So, fun fact: if you're reading a horoscope, you should really read for your rising sign rather than your sun
what does
sign.
that mean? What's
Your
rising,
rising
sign?
sign. So your rising sign is like how other people see you.
Oh.
So your sun. So it's funny. I'm an Aries, but I don't see myself as an Aries because Aries usually like to fight.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see myself as that way because my chart is actually very balanced, and so I've got a lot of other attributes that make
Really?
it so that I would never pick a fight with someone. Now I
You
get
would
mad.
end it.
I would end it. Yeah, ladies don't start fights; they just finish them. So I never really feel like I would be that up in arms. I did whenever I was younger.
Yeah.
But I feel like now more than ever, I feel more like maybe my moon or my rising sign. So your rising sign is kind of how other people see you.
Okay.
And then your moon sign is more like your internal landscape. It's where the moon was whenever you were born. And so, so for me, on the Sunday that I was born, the moon was in Libra, which Libra is very balanced. It's very pink. Diva energy. Yeah, and so and very diplomatic. Like we're always seeing both sides of the story. And so I think that's why like I can go to extremes, but I can still see the other guy's point of view. So I think that's why I'm not as like
So
maybe
you
they
could
would
be-
let me into that club.
So
I
how
don't
do
know.
you find your chart? Like, how do you find your right? Like, you just have to look up, like, the day I was born, I'd have to look all that up.
Yeah.
And it would tell me where the sun was and where the moon was.
And all the other planets too.
The other planets matter too.
Oh, for sure.
So that's where like the Saturn and Mercury retrograde stuff comes in.
Yes.
What about other? Like, I never hear about like Jupiter retrograde.
Jupiter.
Is that a thing?
So, I mean, you want to know where Jupiter is in your chart because Jupiter is expansive. Jupiter is the planet of luck
Growth.
and good fortune.
Love.
So you want to know, well, Venus is the planet of love.
Venus.
Yeah. So it's just cool to like look at all these intricacies
See
of
how-
someone's birth chart. You would want to go on, I like astro.com, I think is probably one of the best resources.
Yep.
And I would make sure
on
you
there.
click on whole sign.
Whole
As
sign?
much as I don't want to believe in astrology, it is a science.
Yeah.
And there's a famous saying that millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. Can you
Love that.
can you guess who said that famous quote?
Elon
Oprah
Musk.
Winfrey,
Donald Trump.
Those are great answers.
Bill Gates.
Jeff Bezos.
JP Morgan.
JP.
So can you imagine a finance bro that is like deep into
Right. the
numbers, sitting there saying like billionaires use astrology? And it's funny, even my dad was not super into astrology. And once I told him that, he was like, make me an appointment.
Yeah.
I want my chart read. And he did, and he loves it. And still to this day, like we talk about it sometimes. He texted me not too long ago and he was like, Uranus is conjunct Jupiter or something. And I was like, I don't, and I was like,
Uranus is the best planet.
I'm not even, Uranus or Uranus.
Your dad texts you, your anus.
Uranus is in Jupiter.
Is it
No, he wasn't even meaning it like that. But I made a little boy joke about it, obviously,
You have
because
to.
I'm a silly goose.
You are.
But I was just I was like, wow, astrology. Like more and more people are getting
Right.
into it. And it just, I don't know. I like it.
Why
it makes
not?
sense to me. But a really cool thing, I'm actually going live with a friend today. She's a wonderful astrologer. And
Do
we'll
I
be
need to hop
talking.
on that?
You should.
What time?
Yeah, 7 p.m.
Yes.
Yep.
Eastern.
tonight, and we'll save it to our respective profiles so you can come back and listen to it. But for the next 6 months, if you thought Mercury retrograde was a big deal, Saturn retrograde is a really big deal.
Massive.
Yep.
So Saturn is the planet of karma. It's the planet
Ooh.
of, it's kind of the planet of destiny. So a lot of people, when they're around, like you'll have your first Saturn return when you're around like 27, 28. It lasts about 3 years. Do you guys remember anything significant from those times?
27, 28 years
life?
old.
27 to 28.
Anything?
I opened a clinic.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. You don't.
Pretty.
You're like,
just
it was so long
insignificant.
ago.
No, it was just it was what it was.
It was what it was.
Yeah, I think I might have opened my clinic. I probably opened my clinic the same time.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that sounds like y'all were pretty much like kind of living out your dharma, your life purpose. Like y'all were kind of in alignment. So for someone like me, I absolutely was not. So my Saturn return was violent, to say the least. I was engaged to someone at the time,
Whoa.
an attorney.
We didn't even dive into
yeah,
that.
that was like kind of a partier. I don't know if y'all
Probably a
gathered this
Sagittarius.
from me, but no, he was a Pisces actually, surprisingly.
Yikes.
Oh,
But-
do you want to tell us his name?
No, never. He's an attorney. Absolutely
Don't
not.
put him up.
You can redact this part of the podcast. But it's just so funny because when I think about that time, whenever I was 27, I was working in big pharma.
Yeah.
What? I was engaged. I was engaged to someone who I loved. Like, he was a wonderful person, but just totally, like, not
Opposite,
for me. Yeah, he liked to go out and party, and I would always be like, babe, I want to stay in. Like, I
Yeah.
want to be a silly goose at home.
Yeah.
You know? I'm a homebody. But I hadn't really even accessed that part of me yet, and I just wasn't living in alignment. So at that time, I changed my jobs, ended that engagement, moved to a new town. It was like everything. Yeah, it was like a storm
You just
came
blew
through
it
my
all up.
life. Yeah, and just like blew everything to the ground.
Yep.
And it was kind of like, all right, well, we're going to start fresh. So I moved down to Charleston. I didn't have any friends. I had a new job. So I kind of just was 10 toes down for my new OR job. That was my first OR job. And it was super fun. It was in women's health. But I just remember that time being like so tumultuous, and I was like, why? And then I learned about Saturn retrograde,
Right.
and I was like, no wonder. I was totally not in alignment with
Right.
like the things that I even like. It was kind of like in Runaway Bride, and they're like, you don't even know how you like your eggs.
Right.
And I was like, that's me. I don't know.
So
Poached?
what sign are you what sign are you compatible with? Or does your chart tell you what? Because that's a big thing in the dating
Sure.
space for
Yeah.
people that are really into this.
Yeah, for your dating game show. So
Yep.
many people read into their sun sign, and that's like the least thing that I'm concerned about. I mean, I don't know. If you're a Gemini, I don't know if I want to talk to you. I'm just
Right.
kidding. I have a bunch of girlfriends that are Geminis, but I don't know. Guy Geminis? I'm sorry. Are you a Gemini?
No.
What is your sign?
No, I'm a Sagittarius.
Sag. Okay, cool. That's my rising sign. So, yeah. So you would want
I
to
feel
look.
like they're great for everybody. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
Sagittarius are just like easygoing
Yeah.
people.
I
And
don't
that's
know.
why I'm like, I wouldn't start a fight in the club. I'd be the one being like, guys, do we really want to get into this?
Here's the all right. So I have 2 points. One,
Yeah.
I do somewhat agree with the moon side
Yeah?
of it because I remember my first few years in practice. I would come out after a day of being in the clinic.
Yeah.
Be like, people were bananas today. Like things that I
Yeah.
just couldn't believe they were doing and saying was crazy. And then it turned out that was a full moon.
Here
We're here for the health of it.
for the health of it.